We want to thank all the people behind the scenes and in production, because they usually don't get a lot of recognition. But what they do is so important for the success of an event. Thank you for contributing with your diverse area of expertise to help make the whole production possible. Talk about talent and commitment. Nicolás Mariñel Arena, who is up there coordinating everything. Edward Lugo from 2006, the DJ, who is gonna put some tunes on tonight. Daniel Fara. Daniel Fara did the video that we started with. Very, very talented guy. And you may not believe it, but he was a star football player when he was at school. So jocks can be creative too. Or creative people can be jocks as well. From Habanero Films, Anders Ehrenberg and Ray Sinatra. They are filming everything and they will edit it, and it will be something that we can keep forever. It will be posted on YouTube in a few months, so you can all come back and see it. Javier Horschneider and Alejandro Magras from Design and Cutting. Those big fat letters you see there were done by them, and they will forever be at this venue. Thank you. Our fifth act is Ignacio Madrazo. He is from the ASF class of 1987. I won't even mention. Please look at the booklet. You can see everything. They're pretty impressive. Among other things, Ignacio will give us some insight into the very, very difficult life, yet extremely important world of documentary filmmaking. For the committee, it was very inspiring to see what can be achieved when there's a clear goal in mind and a good cause. Thank you, Ignacio. Thanks.
Hi, hello. Well, today is about failure, and for me, failure is actually messing up. So I'll start by messing up. I'm gonna give part of my speech in Spanish, part in English, whatever comes. Well, for starters, I wanna, let's see how this works, okay. I wanna talk about why. What do I mean about why? Every time people ask me, why did you become a documentary filmmaker? There's not a real clear answer. After all, documentary filmmakers have all the difficulties of normal filmmakers and none of the glitz and glamour or anything like that. I'll give you just a few examples. I have a very good friend who actually won an Academy Award and jokingly said that the dress that they gave her for the award actually was more expensive than her film. Well, another example, I can give you a personal example, is in a recent documentary that I made, I needed a shot of a jaguar. It took me 3 nights in a swamp. I counted at least 200 mosquito bites in my arm. And I did count them. It's sort of our trophies. We don't get awards, we get mosquito bites. And well, anyway, so why take paths that have almost no possibility of success? That's one of the things that I want to talk about today. Well, first of all, let me tell you a little bit about my biography. I went to an Ivy League school, which normally does spell success, and yet I got in there and I decided, let's study philosophy. Okay, that's not a pretty good idea. Okay, next idea. Okay, maybe I should do a double major. And I decided to study semiotics. To this day, my parents still don't know what semiotics is. So and most of the time when I have to explain to people what in the world do I do, people have no idea, and I don't have the time to explain to them. Well, one thing that I did learn there is I came in contact with a specific group. It was called The Situationist International. And there I learned about one of my great heroes, this man named Guy Debord. This is a quote from him. He says, "In societies where modern conditions of production prevail, all of life presents itself as an immense accumulation of spectacles. Everything that was directly lived has moved away into a representation." This is semiotics, nobody understands it, don't worry. What does it mean? It means that we live in a world where it's all images. Images fed by the media. We have a huge quilt of fame, images, icons, et cetera, to the point where we don't see real life. Real life has disappeared. We have no possibility of reaching it. That is an extremely sad vision of the world. And if you ask me, why do I decided to get into documentary filmmaker? I need to get to real life. I need to get to that point. But where is real life? Real life is not in success. Real life is in those minute spaces where actually failure comes out. Failure, and interestingly enough, are the small cracks where reality seeps in and suddenly shows us what reality is really like. I'll give you a very recent example. I'm sure everybody saw the Super Bowl halftime show. It was absolute disaster. Why? Because, you know, it was supposed to be the great Katy Perry event. We all know who was the great MVP of the event? The left shark, you know? If you don't know how to dance, that's where things are. So success is actually in failure. That's where real life actually comes in. I'll give you some personal examples. Well, let me see what do I have here. Well, industrialized societies sell the impression that success is a wheel of fortune and the winner could be you. This is something that we really should have present. Society imposes on us the idea that, don't worry, just wait for your moment, it'll hit you. No, it won't. It's important to know that success is actually in that real life. Real life is where success is gonna be. I'm gonna touch that point a little bit forward. But anyway, I'm gonna return. Well, I wanted to give you some examples of things that I had to deal with, but you know, I've had several rewards in my career, etc. I've had some awards, etc. I have several festivals. I prefer not to go to them because they tend to be incredibly boring. But anyway, where do I really consider that I find success in my life? When I have to think about that, I think of certain moments. I remember spending a week in a Bedouin tent. I remember having to discover how to make an Albanian peasant talk to camera and realizing he didn't want to talk because my producer was redhead and they considered redheads bad luck, you know? These kind of things, when you find these kind of little details, when you really find real life seeping in, is when suddenly you realize, wait, success is not where I think it was. Success is in those little moments of real life. I think, well, okay. I'm seeing the clock and I feel like an Academy Award. Well, I was told to talk about how to turn failure into success, but you know, as a semiotician, it can't be that simple. I cannot just, I mean, it has to be a little more complicated than that. So how do I define success? Success is a cultural construct that is imposed to us by a society obsessed with spectacle and consumption, with image and income. It is widely known that the Eskimos can see 56 different colors in white, because of their language. I don't know, but for me, that's a much happier life. If I could see 56 colors in my life, that for me would be a much more interesting life. I'll give you another example. I've traveled all over the world doing different documentaries. I have never come across a bad or unhappy child reality until we teach them to be unhappy, until we teach them that what they have is not good enough. So I think that it is extremely important that we realize this. Culture imposes unhappiness. Culture imposes failure on us. Culture imposes that, no, you are a housewife, you're not good enough. I'm sorry, I just had a child recently. These are the 10 happiest days of my life. And it has real life, what I want to, I have seconds here. Well, let me close with this. I think this is, for me, another one of my heroes. This is one of great faith. No one finds happiness in the supermarket. I think it's not about consumption. It's not about what we define as success. It's about real life, and it's about the tiny things in our everyday. Thank you very much.